we start again? Okay. Welcome, councillors and staff, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, and all the people who are following this by streaming at home. We got the excuse me, council activity briefing for the 23rd of October 2024, and we're starting off with information systems. Gordon, you can tell us what happens in your world.
Good morning. I'm just happy to take any questions against the report.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Wilson.
Morning, Gordon. You see that your mobile phone fleet renewal. Who do you when you do that? Is it just like an update of conditions, or is it new phones, or what does that mean? Because it's quite a big for many of the staff. That it's quite a you change your phone. That's a huge thing in your life.
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, it can be a bit daunting. It is a renewal of our mobile phone fleet that we issued to staff. Yeah, we look to do that renew the fleet every 4 to 5 years, just to keep across the advances in technology and make sure that the tools are fit for purpose.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lovett.
Yes, the community facility booking systems is that for every community hall we own all our facilities that people will go online and book in, and will it also have like keypad access so we can get rid of people holding keys and they get distributed out as well?
Through the chair, so the scope of the booking community booking system is to include properties that council own that are available for public booking. There is coverage and looking into the halls. As to the security, I'm not sure whether that's in the actual brief of this project. That would be slightly different. This is about providing a booking system, not necessarily the mechanisms of how people access it, but I'm sure that will be part of the discussions and maybe a spin-off of it post-implementation.
Can I add to that?
Thank you for that. Yes. Sorry.
Through the chair, if I may add to that, it will be a phased-in approach. So we started this project initially with property, and then we expanded that to open spaces, and then we've included the community halls, and we're also looking at our rooms here. So it's going to be we will go out to RFP to see what's out there, and then we will look at how we implement that. So quite a phased approach.
Thanks, Leanne. Any more questions, comments, councillors? No? Thank you, Gordon. The next one is Renee. Good morning. Questions and answers, or you've got anything to start?
Questions and answers, thank you.
Quite happy. The Mayor. Councillor.
Morning, Renee. Just elderly persons housing. We don't hear much about Rakaya. What's happening with the two at Rakaya, those units?
They're fully tenanted at the moment. There isn't a lot to report on that at the moment. Okay. What were you looking for?
I just wondered we never hear about Rakaya. They're fully tenanted.
Yes,
Have
fully
they
tenanted.
been refurbed lately, or?
One has been refurbed and the other has been tenanted, so it'll probably be refurbed at the time of that vacancy.
Great, thanks.
Councillor Lovett.
The sale of the former admin building, is the garages part of that, or are they still, if somebody wanted them, can come to us and take them away or whatever?
Through the chair, the garages have been sold, so we've sold all the ancillary buildings and we're just waiting for them to be taken off site.
That's good.
Councillor Cameron.
Thanks, Lane. Elderly persons housing down at Friendship Lane, I know you've got a waiting list. The people that moved out so that the buildings could be rebuilt, are they top of the waiting list, or how does that work, please?
Through the chair, some of them don't want to move multiple times, so it's going to depend on each person's situation.
So the waiting list will be used to invite people to take the new homes on Friendship Lane. You won't go external to the waiting list.
We have got some people that we want to relocate so that we can refurb some other units within the portfolio. So that's probably the priority that we're starting with.
So just point of clarification, your own tenants currently will take the top of the waiting list and then will go off the waiting list because they're external to ADC's current tenants.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wilson.
The airport, I see that we've put in the AV data system, but you've commented that uptake by users by paying invoices through AV data has been slower than anticipated. How much slower? Because we've put a lot of work into the long-term plan around this jolly airport, and
They've just been a bit slow to pay the invoices, so it's not a major problem at all. But just to give you some idea, for July and August, the movements for last year, so 2023, so the movements were about 977, whereas the movements for the same period for this year are about a third higher at about 1,500.
And could you comment on at the time, 33 people registered with the annual landing fee, because that was quite a bone of contention almost. And is that because the other thing's too cheap and they're not having to do it, or what's the reasoning? Is there a reasoning, do you think, because of that?
So there were 33 last year, so it's about on par. Yep.
Thank you. Mayor Brown.
It's the forestry, and I know we don't have a forester at the moment, so then we're getting a consultant. So the harvesting is still on track as per our long-term plan for this financial year?
We're still working through that at the moment, and I'll have more information next month.
On what's being harvested this year?
Yeah, we still have the plans to harvest certain forests.
We're still
within that.
planning on harvesting? Yeah. Because it's budgeted for, no doubt. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the airport and AV data. Are they like an external debt collection sort of agency?
Through the Gen, no, they monitor the movements at the airport, so they will monitor who's actually flying in and do the invoicing for the people that are using it.
So they're invoicing on behalf of us.
Correct.
So they are sort of an external debt collector agent. They're not owned by ADC.
They won't do the debt collection.
No, but they send the invoices out and yeah. How much have we done that on our own behalf in the past, or how's that been managed in the past?
We have previously been invoicing ourselves, but we're actually getting the service as well as the additional service, which is them doing the invoicing for a reduced rate.
So how much do we spend on that as a per invoice, like 2%, 5%?
It's depending on the volume of traffic coming through. And so it is actually probably a third cheaper than the previous system.
So the previous system was us invoicing, ADC invoicing, was that correct? So this is cheaper than ADC invoicing?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
To do with forestry, I understand you've got the consultant looking at the trees, because they'll want to plant more trees because they're consultants. If they don't plant more trees, they can't consult. How will you blend in the idea that we perhaps look to sell some of these assets down because they shouldn't be in forest, they should be in farmland or some other usage? How do you blend that into the program?
Part of that process is actually looking at that forestry strategy, so we will have some more information coming to you shortly.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. So that was going to be so we're going to get a report once that consultants and look at the way forward for forestry.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Renee, I've got a comment. I had 2 phone calls regarding the new build in Friendship Lane, and they were really impressed how quick it went and how well it looks.
Thank you. We're pretty excited about it. So we've got all the concrete floors they're down, and we've actually got all the wall framing up. So the next stage is actually putting on the roof trusses.
Thank you for that. Any more questions, comments? If not, thank you, Renee. The next one, Erin. Finance, page 13 and 14. No, only 13. Councillors, questions or comments? I've got one for a start if I can. 1,059 documents. Is that normal?
Yes, it is normal. For an audit, they have a whole heap of different requests that they make, and then they ask for additional backup on certain things when they take their samples. So that's normal.
So that's every year you get at least this.
Yes, that's correct, and we never know what they're actually going to ask for, so we can't preempt it and have it all ready to go. So we have an idea, but generally when they get their samples, it could be anything and everything.
And if I can add to that through the chair, it would have grown since I took this set of stats. So the audit's still ongoing, and they're still seeking that information. And what I was trying to show when we put this fact in is that impacts on both sides. So it's the auditors have to audit all of those documents, and we have to find them, put them in a format that works, and get them to them. And that's across the collective team of ADC.
Councillor Cameron.
Just as an aside, when we talk about auditing, we put a cost in the long-term plan for the auditors, but it would be interesting to work out the actual cost involved in staff finding all those documents, as you say, and manipulating them or doing whatever the heck they have to do with them, wouldn't it? And that would be more of a real reflection of the cost of the audit.
That would be a more interesting cost to collect at times.
Yeah.
And
how
I
hard
guess,
would that be to do?
Oh, I'm not going to even to commit my team to
thing,
that one,
wouldn't it?
because that would be
Yeah.
asking a lot of people to start trying to manually record their hours, and that's
right.
just
Yeah.
a no-go.
Yeah, but it's a ridiculous cost. Yeah. Hey, I have a question, please, with regards for the purchase cards, and I recall the discussion around them, and we all thought it was a good idea. Where are they coming from? I just thought they'd be little Visa-y type cards that you get.
So they come through, they're from Westpac. They have to be set up through a special portal situation with all the right authorisers and administrators. It's a little bit more intense than a Visa.
Okay. And say you had one, I don't know whether you do or not, but say you did, you just go along to a shop, and if it was under the, in the consent, you just swipe it and buy whatever your pen or whatever it was you needed to get.
Only if it's not something that's available through a PO purchase. It's for other things instead of a petty cash situation.
Through the chair, if I just add to that, so it actually is replacing petty cash, and it's for those very minor purchases, 200 or less, and it's essentially working in the same way as a debit card. Where we find it extremely useful is we do a lot of minor purchases now online, and that makes that a lot easier for us.
Councillor Wilson.
I see we've got the first mention of the annual plan, and you're obviously starting work on that. When we did the long-term plan, one of our slight criticisms, my criticisms, was that we couldn't see a real-time update. So if we spent more money on the roads, for example, it didn't feature through, because you can only spend so much. You spend some here, you perhaps got to cut back here, and we could see the balancing. It sort of only came out at the end sort of thing sometimes. If you've done any more work so that when we do it, we can have a bit more up-to-date view. So if we decide to, like in Vicargo, update our museum, we can do it, but we can see that we've got to cut out water supplies to somewhere or do something like that, you know what I mean?
I think the thing you have to keep in mind is if you're wanting to do something and cut out something else, we have to have that directive before we do any modelling. So we'd have to know that you would want somewhere else chopped if you were doing a certain thing. But we do have the ability to model via a spreadsheet that's quite robust, but we won't know what you want to cut on something unless we're directed that way.
It would be good to see that, you know, because that's one of the things that we need to be able to see, that we're crisply doing it as we go through, that if we make changes, they show up so that we can understand that means it's another 5% on the rates or 1% or a reduction or whatever. We don't just get to the end and go, this is magically what it is.
Through the chair, if I may. So there's a couple of components in there that we're working on. One is, yes, we have got an extremely robust model of the rates to a point, but we can tell you at a high level, right, you've just added in $1 million, that's just added 2.5% to your rates increase. Where do we remove it? So we can do that instantly, pretty much, but what we can't do is then we need to put that into quite a complex model to say the general rate's doing this and your targeted rate's doing that. The project that Erin is working on, that she will be kicking off as soon as she gets out of the annual report, is to make things a lot more efficient, but it won't be ready for January. This is a big project, the first big phase, and both in the IS documentation today and in this one, we're talking about doing this project, and it's not just migrating the balance of our system into the cloud, which wasn't in there. It's actually a transformation process so we can get workflows working better. So that's a big piece of work. That won't be complete in January when we bring the first set of budgets.
Thank you, Leanne. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I think that may have just answered my question. The financial modules and management services, is that what that is? An update of all those systems? And
Correct.
Thank you. Councillors, no questions, comments? Thank you. I think Bert is in the hot seat on today. Good morning, Bert. Open spaces. Everyone ready? Off we go. Any questions? Councillor Lovett.
Yeah, the Bike Schools Park, it's in the planning process at the moment, and will that go out for tender to get built, or will the service clubs be all part of that? As someone was on to me the other day, we've got a local living in Methven that's built several of these parks, and just wondered, how does it come to fruition?
Through the chair, there's still a wee way to go before we get to that process. We're currently commissioning detailed design, and then that'll get priced again, and then the plan is to put it out for tender. And the Bike Schools Committee are made up of the service groups, and it's their intention to put it out for tender.
The other question I had was, we had the youth forum here, and they spoke to us about the Domain playground, and I remember when they were a few years back, they came in and they said exactly the same thing, and I'm wondering, when is there a major upgrade in putting some things in there for the older kids, the youth, to do, because it is our jewel in the crown in there, and it's used by a heck of a lot of people travelling through and locals, and it's tired, it's outdated, and even the kids were asking, when are we going to put some oomph into that?
You mean here in the main domain?
Yeah, in the domain.
Okay. I thought it was just updated, wasn't it, Bert?
I think there's been some minor improvements. I think there is a plan. There's not a lot of expenditure, but a plan to connect the current pieces together a little bit better. But I don't recall there being any major funding in the LTP for any significant playground upgrades.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hooper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. G'day, Bert. The gardens installed by the speed bumps along Malcolm Street, the wee square gardens, I guess, to stop cars hooning to the left of the speed bumps. Whose responsibility are those? Are those ours or NZTA's? As it was their project, but they're all full of weeds, and some of the weeds are sort of yay high, and I've had ratepayers saying what's going on there. So are they our responsibility?
I assume they will become our responsibility. There's usually a maintenance period, and it's about making sure there's a smooth transition between the installers and the handover. That could be the issue, but I could come back to you on that.
Yeah, it is our road corridor, so it's our responsibility. It's council's, and as Bert rightfully pointed out, there'll be a maintenance period of 12 months for the contractor working under the NZTA contract to undertake the maintenance before it gets handed over to our open spaces team to maintain.
You pass on that message to them?
We'll make a note of that. Yeah, follow up.
I also noticed that some of the locals there needed some timber, so it was taken out of the gardens. Councillor Ellis.
thank you. You've completed your annual yardstick benchmarking survey. Do we get to see that at all, or is that just an in-house thing for Parks and Reserves?
Through the chair, we've been subscribing to that since about 2012. Normally it's in-house, but we can make a presentation if required. They're still collating the results, so it's hard to compare how we are doing in comparison to other councils, but that will become clearer around the end of November.
Yeah, we're happy to circulate that with councils in some way.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's done before. Yeah. Councillor Wilson.
The State Highway 1 Rakaia berm replacement, I was lucky enough to be going for Rakaia when that was done. Could you get us back to us, because obviously use a contract, what the cost of that was? Because I feel the people of Rakaia would be very interested to know, because they are beautifying their town. They're always short of money to do things. They do a lot of voluntary work and stuff and all that sort of thing. And we had a huge amount of traffic safety there and half a dozen contractors, and I was surprised to see, and I thought, idiots at NZTA doing it, but then I realised it was us doing it. So I'd be very interested to know what the cost of that was. So that's around the entrance to Rakaia. They planted on both sides of the road. And it looked a pretty major undertaking. I'd just be interested to know what that cost. And next, another question, if that's all right. I said we're recruiting staff for a weekend cleaner in Ashburton. I'm a dairy farmer, and we have a roster, so everybody works and they do their bit of the weekends, and a lot of people have to work weekends. I'm interested to see why don't we have like a roster with cleaning that you have to work every third weekend, or it's just like a normal job? Why do we have a separate thing for weekends?
Sorry, I've got no idea. I'd have to come back to you on that.
Perhaps Sarah could help.
Through the chair, we have a team of sort of district caretakers and caretakers and cleaners within the CBD and Ashburton Township. We have a rotation whereby they do tag in and out for illness, but we have found over the years, as opposed to people like consistent hours, and it's a job that some people can do in addition to a working Monday to Friday. They can do a few hours in the morning and a few hours in the night, and it's a supplementary job. So although it's another staff member having the commitment of somebody purely doing weekends can have its advantages. And that's why we've landed how we have at the moment. Not to say that things won't change over the course of time, but that's the reasoning.
Thank you, Sarah. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks, Lane. First of all, I do like Charlie Jane's sculpture. Thank you. And I also have noted the upgrades at the cemetery. So I'm sorry Ian isn't here to hear that. So thanks, Bert, instead. My comments relate to my questions relate to the big island in the middle of the domain, the sort of barren island. What's the gig with that? I thought that was going to be planted in natives. Now, admittedly, I haven't walked past it for a couple of weeks, and it may well have been done in the interim. But when I last saw it, it was pretty unattractive.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been briefed on that, so I'll have to come back to you on that.
And also, this might more relate to Neil. The area around the domain, I see we've got the new sidings around the pond I'm talking about.
Yep.
And is the rest of the pond going to get new edging and sidings, further up into the domain, or is that completed now, that work?
I believe it is completed. Bert?
That particular style of edging is completed, but there's more work to do further up the domain, around the pond. It won't be of that same style of structure.
Okay, because that's quite dirty, that pond, because that was essentially a clean out of that pond, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the island may be done in relation to that pond edging, I don't know. Can you let me know, please?
Sure.
And one more question, and this relates to probably not you, but probably Neil. The CBD, and I might have to bring it up with Mark later, I've been noticed and pulled a few weeds out when I forgot I wasn't at home the other day down the CBD in the new paving between the rain garden, not in the rain garden, but between the edging and the bricks. There's weeds growing up there. Was that a 2-yearly spraying contract as per the rest of our curb and channel, or is that more regular spraying contract?
The one in the CBD is more regular, and it is maintained by our roading team as well as our open spaces team. So I'll follow up on that.
Okay, so I won't bring it up with Mark at the road.
No, I can follow. I'll
Thank you.
make sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Phil.
Thank you. Carolyn touched on it. I just wanted to pass on my thanks to Ian, Shrin and the team for the placement of the Charlie Jane sculpture. It looks really good. It's in a great spot and the family are really thrilled. So please pass on my thanks.
Mayor Brown.
Yeah, just, I think, might have been me last time, I asked about cardboard sleeves and plastic sleeves and cost, etc. And you've got it here, which is great, exactly what we asked for. An interesting result too, where plastic's a lot cheaper than the cardboard, and also the picture of the cardboard sleeve over the grass, and yeah, picture paints 1,000 words really, but yeah, I thought the cardboard would have won, but it obviously doesn't.
They both work, but the plastic ones are really easy, and you can recycle them. Yeah, I know. But yeah, we normally use it 4 or 5 times. It lasts for years. Councillor Lovett.
Yes, just down on the pedestrian crossing down at Kelly's there, I met someone on the pedestrian crossing coming out of there this morning, and I've heard from several other people. There's a lot going on in that corner. It probably runs over two teams here, like all the plantings there, because it's a dark side of the road, and anyone in dark clothing coming out of there onto the pedestrian crossing, they're really hard to pick up. And don't really see them until they've taken a step out onto the crossing. I don't know whether it's all the plantings, the high plantings there of the flowers in the bed, or what we can do with all the glass and everything round. It's very congested, and I thought maybe it's somebody perhaps should have a look at that.
Yeah, we can.
Uh,
It's a safety issue.
Yeah, so it's clearly in the evenings and it's dark. We can have a look at the lighting at that pedestrian crossing.
Yes.
But we'll also have a look at the planting and see if that needs to be trimmed.
Yes, and it's also in the mornings when it's sort of darker on that side, because the sun's behind it.
Okay, we'll have a look at it.
Yeah, it's come up to me several times. People have mentioned that. The other thing is down at Tekatry, how are we going with that old structure down there? Is it any progress on that, or is it just going to sit with all its fences around?
Through the chair, there's no further update to what's in the activity briefing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, and also the Hikateri Rivermouth, the new toilet block, how's that progressing? Because we've moved all the camping down to that bottom area where those toilets are going to be built, and it's sort of added a bit of pressure to that project. So,
yeah, I think the toilets have been procured. We will need to get resource consent because the new toilets are not in the same location as the existing ones, so they don't have existing use rights. So that's what we're working on at the moment.
Thank you all. Thank you, Bert. You did well. You're still sitting there, straight up. Thank you. The next one, Hernando, solid waste management.
Happy to take questions.
That's all right. I'm waiting for them. You're doing too well. Don't cost anything. Councillors.
The weight's going to Cape Valley, because we've got a compact there. Is there any way we can get more weight into those bins? Because obviously it's 21 tonnes. We could squish a bit more and it would save us more money. Is there any way we can improve that, volume, weight relationship?
We are also limited by the weight that can be carried to the Christchurch. We're only limited to 50 tons. So if you have 21, that's already 42. We can squeeze in more, but we're limited by the 50. At the moment, we are depending on the kind of waste that is being brought into the waste recovery. So if there are no heavies in the rubbish, then we can actually increase the weight.
And another question, that when we went through the long-term plan, we were talking about green waste going into bins, and there's an interesting relationship between where the green waste goes now and where it goes in the future, because a lot of it gets taken to the dump and people pay for it. Have you done any more work on the volumes and just to see what's actually, so we are sure what's happening with green waste, as respect to how much, if someone mows their lawn, they haven't got to fit it in their rubbish bin, they take it to the dump themselves, but in the future when they've got their old bin, they won't be paying for it at the dump. So has there been any more work done around those cost allocations?
So when we prepared the LTP and for FOGO, we assumed that there will be 70% people bringing waste into the waste recovery, and we have assumed a 5,200 kilograms of green waste to be into waste. So it can be more or less than 5,200. We won't know until we actually implement the project.
Through the chair, to answer the question, we haven't done any more work since we did our original assessment, which was based on information we received from a FOGO collection in Dunedin. So we just haven't made the assumptions that we'll have a similar sort of split, but until we actually start doing it and collecting it, we haven't done any more work. We'll wait for that.
That Mayor Brown?
Yeah, see, September's seen a slight increase in waste received, up 43%. Is that 43% is not a slight increase? Is that the real number?
To the chair, yes, it's a real number because we have been receiving more than 100 tons from Beyond in August and others 117 tons from Beyond in September. That's the solar farm. They've been bringing green waste and some 2 tons of general waste into the resource recovery. But I think the project is already over, so we're not expecting more in October.
So the next question is the solar farms bringing waste in. Is it waste or could it be recycled, or do they need to separate it and do a bit of work with it on site before it comes in?
So the more than 100 tons is green waste mostly. So it all goes to our green waste facility, and the 2 tons is just general rubbish, and they all go to Gate Valley.
So we're assisting them as much as we can to make sure it's recyclable, not waste. Are we doing that?
Yeah, where possible, if EnviroNZ can see that there is material worth diverting, they certainly do. There is, however, dependent on how much work is involved in doing that. If it's easy enough to do and sort, they will do that.
Yeah. Yep. Perhaps we go right back to the solar farm where it's produced. Are we doing education there to say if you do this, this, and this, you'll be sending a lot less waste to us and more recyclable material if you separate it, like we want to do on building sites.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it is a big building site, really.
It is. Thank you for that.
Just
Councillor Lovett.
Just going back to the lid bars on the bins at the stations, are we going to raise them slightly or are they going to stay? You know, you're saying it's reducing contamination and stuff being biffed in, but it's difficult to get your washing powder containers and stuff through. If they could, I was asked that the other day, do you think the council will get round to extending them slightly more before Christmas?
Through the chair, Justin is looking into that. Yes. But since the project has been implemented 3 months ago, we only received 2 complaints in the council. So we really don't know if those two complaints would trigger for us to change and increase our contamination rate. We don't know if some people are actually just complaining directly to you, and we would encourage them to actually complain to the council so that we would know how many people are actually complaining, because so far, for the past 3 months, only 2 people complained about it.
Thank you for that. I've got Hamish here as well. Hamish, you want to say something?
No, you've surprised me there.
Oh, wow. And just make sure you're still awake. Stay
Oh, no, I'm still awake. No, I'm still awake, thank you.
No, you came up the screen, so that was the
Oh.
problem. So one question I have, if I can, there were 6 companies wanted to have a look at the waste, and 3 put in a tender. Why are the other 3 not there? They are too small, they couldn't handle it. Can we know that or not?
Through the chair, we don't know exactly, but often the people who do come along will work with one of the main contractors and work together, so they come along to get as much information. That could be one reason, but there could be several reasons why they're particularly interested in coming along to the initial meeting, but then don't end up delivering or submitting a tender. So we don't know the reasons.
Okay, thank you for that. No more questions. And Hamish, I've got it sorted. If someone pushes the button on your place, on your seat, it comes up.
Okay, so Neil and Hamish are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Got it.
We get it sorted by the end of the day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions, councillors? Three Waters operations? No. Four Waters project? Andrew. And we're doing well. 1 minute late. Good morning, Andrew. And there's some questions here. Well, one for a start. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. The missing water meters at Hines, how do water meters go missing?
Through the chair, they're not actually missing. Because when we are installing meters, we are looking for actual meters, but some meters have actually not been installed and they have been labeled as missing, but they're actually not installed.
Councillor Wilson. Oh, sorry. Cameron first.
Thank you. Are we on 4 Waters or are we still on 3 Waters, please? 4 Waters?
You can.
Page 35?
Yeah.
Thank you. The UV filtration plants, I note on the thing that they're on schedule and then the long-term plan, they're due to be finished 24-25. When are they due to be finished? Do we have a sort of a time? When is that work going to be completed?
At the moment, the whole project, including the Ashburton sites, is probably looking at the end of the 25 calendar year. So into December next year.
End of December next year for the UV filtration to go on the
Ashburton site.
Okay, I'll just have a look. I thought it was in our long-term plan, 100% 24-25.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's the end of 25, really.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
However, we are looking at the tenders that are out. There's 3 packages. The second package award will be coming to council next week, and then we'll have the first 2 packages. There may be an opportunity to have the third package be given as variations to the first 2 contracts, in which case we could bring forward the completion sooner. So we'll consider that once we pass the next
clearly
stage.
sooner is better.
Yes.
Yeah, with at least non-compliant.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Will you keep us updated on that?
Yes.
Councillor Wilson.
The stealing of the solar panel from the Bremnes Road water filling station, have you got that solved? Because 3 times you just about turn it, lock it up, and that would sort it out, or do something quite radical. Or can you get it to mains, or what? Because it's obviously a big cost to us in flogged all the time.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, it's already 3 times, and we have claimed 3 times insurance for it. So we have already decided to move that filling station to a place near ACL, so that they can actively monitor it and watch over it.
And it's an Ocean Farm question. Are we fully compliant there at the moment? Because we're obviously having a committee set up in the future, and that'll be one of the questions they ask. So I thought I'll get in first before the committee's a wee way away from kicking off. So are we fully compliant at Ocean Farm at the moment?
We're not at the moment. We've still got some outstanding matters which are the subject of a action plan which has been agreed with Environment Canterbury, and we're just making our way through that action plan. So.
Thank you for that. Mayor Brown?
Yeah, the solar panel one, you're going to move the filling station to near the ACL building. Whereabouts is the ACL building?
On the old dumps by Robinson Street.
Their main office.
Main office, yeah.
Bremnes Road's out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the old filling station is near the cemetery, so we're going to remove that and move it down to close to the ACL offices and depot.
It was obviously put out there for a reason, I suppose, for location. You're moving from one side of the town to the other. Will that not be disadvantageous?
The contractors will just move where it is. There's only 3 contractors that are using that filling station as per our records. So they will just be informed that it will be moved to where near ECL is.
Yeah. The Ocean Farm, you've tended the grass. You've told us who the tender is, but you haven't said what the dollar figure was or the cents.
Oh, sorry about that. It's 14.50 cents per kilogram of dry matter.
Nice, and I see the volumes are going up every year, which is good work. And I think the final question is that price you got, when the volumes you get, how will that compare to the budget?
We use the former 11 cents to do the budget, so we have 14.50, so it's very favorable.
It'll be favourable to the budget. Yeah. Good work. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Kinroy.
What happens to the abatement at Rakaia? You know, we've got an abatement, we had an abatement notice and we had to do this work, undertake the sludge waste work. What happens to the abatement notice? So they just put it in, is it adjourned until we complete the work? Or how does that actually work out?
Yeah, so it effectively remains live until such time as we've addressed the underlying reasons for the abatement. And then once we've achieved that, it'll be withdrawn, formally withdrawn.
So does it have a length of life, an abatement notice, or it goes on forever?
The current one has been issued for a date. I think it's the end of November, and that was based on our original program for the site, which I understand we're on track to meeting. So
We'll all be completed by the end. Yeah, great. And just a comment and a little bit of a question: the Ocean Farm irrigation calling on from Richard. The Ocean Farm irrigation investigation. I'm very pleased that you went out to Rain Main hose fittings and rain irrigation to get sort of feedback and some input. Did they have any initial comments to make that would inform our thinking?
no, early days yet. The only comments we've had back from them at this point has just been requests for a bit of extra information about the site.
Oh, so they haven't gone out yet, or would you accompany?
They've been on site. Well, sorry, one of them has asked for a site visit, and that's been attended to. But both organisations have asked for additional information about the existing infrastructure at the site.
So they're going to get back to you in another couple of weeks, essentially.
Yeah, although I see on my email one of them has requested an extension because they're struggling to meet that 5 November. So we'll probably give them another couple of weeks.
Okay, so we'll hear back into November sort of gig. Thank you.
Okay. 2 more, Councillor Lovett.
Yeah, just going back to the silage, there will be conditions on use of that silage after it's gone out of. Who monitors that it's been used correctly because it's come off the farm? Does anyone check on that, or it just goes out the gate and hopefully the end user, wherever it goes, it's used to feed animals, not milking or whatever? Is there any ties there?
So the contract, as I understand it, I'm sure it hasn't changed. We don't make any guarantee for what its purpose is for. So it's up to the purchaser to decide what they do with it and how they operate with it.
Okay.
Mayor Brown.
On page 39, it's progressive pipeline extension to the northeast. You're doing water extension. What about wastewater? Because that was part of the brief, I thought. Wastewater investigations for out in the northeast. Where are we at with that?
Yeah, so the wastewater investigations are still ongoing. We haven't got back to that in this financial year, unfortunately. But that work is still to be completed. But again, that was only sort of concept level. We weren't getting into detailed design for that.
That's right.
It was just to decide how we might service the area if we wanted to service the area.
Yeah. How or could.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that work is still to be done, but we just haven't got near it.
Right. Thank you.
One really, Mayor Brown's just reminded me, the Tynwald wastewater, you know, we had those few delegates of the long-term plan that were interested in a Tynwald, whether we could do some wastewater. Yeah, Buckley's Terrace, yeah, I didn't want to split. Have we sent them a letter and have they replied back?
Yeah, so Buckley's Terrace, we've been trying to get at that as well. So we've been into contact with them. We have, I've had to get Becca in to give us some costings, because it's not a case of just writing a letter. We actually have to give them some information about how much it would cost. So that work's been complete. It is proving to be quite an expensive exercise if we were wanting to provide them with a service, but we haven't put it into a letter at this point.
That's fine. So you've been in just because I made the commitment at one of those Talk It Up Tuesdays that we would follow on, and we talked about that long-term plan. So that is all in hand.
Yeah, certainly I've been in touch with the submitter,
Yes.
and I think there was another party involved as well.
Yes.
So they're aware of where we're sitting.
Okay.
But we haven't actually had the
Yeah, because
consultation.
we have to work out how we're going to progress from there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Chrissy, it's your 5 minutes.
I've got nothing further to
Spotlight.
add.
Any question? Oh, Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Have you noticed a spike, I suppose, in interest for closing stock water races since the new rates demand's gone out and suddenly people have realised they're paying a lot more to have those races?
Through the chair, it's been pretty steady, the inquiries coming in, and some are for people, particularly on lifestyle blocks, who have been hit harder with the rise, but I wouldn't say there's been a big spike. We're still getting a couple of inquiries a week about it, and we're just sending forms out or directing people to the website for the forms, so no, we're just taking along as usual.
Mayor Brown.
Thanks, Chrissy. The table you've got here with applications, it's shrunk. So the ones that have gone off, have they been closed? Is that why they're now not there?
Yes, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
I've got a question. What is a classified or not classified dam? How?
Yeah, so the classified dam is anything that stores, I think it's 20,000 cubic metres or over 40 and over 4 metres in height. So we've managed to dodge that classification for the Wilkins Road site.
Okay. Thank you, there. No more questions or comments? Then we're on for Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Morning.
And you know who's got the question?
Mark, I attended the AGM for the Ashburton Historical Society on Sunday, and it was very interesting. One of the questions they brought up was, what is the ETA for the pedestrian bridge? And I was able to advise that we did have funding, but I was not able to advise when the work would be undertaken.
Yeah, the funding we've got in our approved program is for next year and the year after. So the last 2 years of our current land transport program, we've had WSP do a detailed inspection of the report, updating that because it's been 3 or 4 years since the previous inspection. So they've updated that and estimated cost, and it's about just over $700,000 is the estimated cost for the repairs and replacement components, things like that. So the next bit we'll do is get a document together to go for tender, ready to get a contractor in place so we can actually spend that money next year or the year after. So that's the plan anyway. I'm not sure how long it will take. If we're able to bring some funding forward in the then we'll do that, but just want to know sort of what the extent of the work was first. We've got that now. I can probably circulate that report to you and the committee if you like. So.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Because it'd be interesting to know if what the deterioration is in the standard.
Not a big difference to what it was before, but it's just noting some rotten timbers and on the corbels and things like that. So it's just the same things. Everything's just got 2 or 3 years older, and we have got the money there. It is in our second and third year of our current program, but we're sort of just doing some prep work now. So.
Okay, thank you. That price that you mentioned is more attractive than we were talking about, so that's not bad.
Yeah, that's simply an estimate. I won't know until we actually go to the market, and there's some extra costs for paying the consultants to get things ready on that. But yes, it's about that.
It's a lot of money. But
it's similar to what the previous estimate was, and that's what we're allowed for our funding. So if it comes in more, then we have to ask for more. If it comes in less, then we'll be okay.
We'll be good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Mark, I've seen some roads getting gravel put on them. and some of the roads, I see they don't gravel the whole road, there's just bits and pieces, sections of it get done. Is that normal?
Yeah, there's a variety of treatments. If the whole length needs it, then they'll do it. Other ones will do isolated sections because sometimes it's not the whole road that needs it. So it's based on the needs by the contractor and by our maintenance staff as well. So they'll look at that and decide which one it is, whether it's just a spot metalling, certain sections, or the whole length. So it depends on the condition at the time.
So who determines which piece of the spot metalling gets the metal?
Combination of the contractor and council staff. So they jointly agree on it. And it's dictated by the funding we've got available and the amount of gravel we want to put on the road. So getting it put on where it's needed most. And if the whole road doesn't need it, then we'll just do the spot metalling. But the roads that really need it, that's where we'll spend the money more and put the whole length on. So
Just trying to work in practically how that works. The fact that I've seen a road which has had some put on in the area. I look at it and think needs it was missed, where it's dipped and corrugated and wet, was not done. So there's no markings on the road. So how do you convey to the truck driver who tips the shingle off, that's the area you need to do? How does that work?
Well, the road sections, that's as in rents are route positions along the road, so they're programmed and mapped, so GPS. They know where those are. Not necessarily GPS, but they know that the distance along the road and where they're starting and finishing. They may not always get it right, but it's generally. And if there's other sections that they haven't got on their program to do, but they think it needs doing, then it'll be a phone call to the team to say we want to do this while we're here and things like that. But trying to stick to what's been approved because we know how much money we've got. So
yeah. So perhaps it's a visit with you and I then to show you the protocol I'm thinking of here, how it's possibly could be done better. The I have another question, and it's scroll through here. Sealed road rehabilitation, and you're closing some roads off, which is to get the work done, lower the traffic management, and residents are allowed to travel on down those roads, which they do. And I hear comments from residents, the road's shut, there's no one there. For days, there's no one there. So they're questioning, why is the road shut? Like, shut the road, do the work, open the road again, but it's shut, and it's for a period of a month when we see the length of road closures, but they're not there doing anything. Is that good practice?
probably need to know where actually roads you're referring to. Rehabilitation is the overlays that we're doing on the road, like on Ashburton, Staveley and Forks, and putting hoe at the moment. It's not the maintenance dig-out repairs.
It's dig-outs.
Yeah, so that's your paving maintenance. I don't think they're left for a month at a time, but they can be left for a week or two because they do the dig-out, put the metal in, and leave it, and let the traffic ideally on it. But there's not normally a closure when they're doing that. They normally open them up again. So it's when they've got physically digging out and it's not safe to go on it, but then they do open them up again. So, but if we know specifically where they are, then we can certainly talk to the contractor about the practice and having it open as soon as it can be.
Yeah. When I say they're closed for a month, they're notified that it's going to be closed from this period to that period, which is about a month, and they come and go. But when they're not there, the road closed signs are still up. And I can tell you the roads later, if you like, but you'll address that. I think I have one more. Awarded a contract. The estimate was $1.5 million. The value was $1.3 million, which is great. So the estimate would have been what we had in the budget. Is it?
The estimate is based on contract rates that we've got from other contracts. So what we've ordered so far is matching our budgets. So
yeah, I was thinking it's a good variance, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. They awarded to Fulton Hogan. They're keen for the work, and they've always put in a good rate. So they're similar to what they have been previously.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just on page 46, corridor access data, just the last sentence, managing temporary traffic management under the New Zealand Guide, temporary traffic management will require change in approach. Can you just expand on that? What does that mean?
Well, it's moving from a code of practice to a New Zealand Guide and taking a risk-based approach. So rather than having
a road that's got, for the work you're doing on this road, it's got 5,000 vehicles a day, this is your traffic management put in place. What you do is you look at the risks associated with the work you're doing for road users and the contractor working there and things like that, and then do the traffic management based on that, not just a prescriptive way of doing it. The industry is, on state highway work, they are changing to this. Not across the country, there's a whole range of how people are doing it, how quickly it's coming in. So it is a change in approach. It's not, hasn't been that well brought in. It's going to happen over time. So a lot of people are still learning. People who have been using the code of practice understand that, but the risk-based approach, and there'll be a lot of similar stuff still done out there, but it's having what is safe and appropriate for there rather than just the book says do this, so this is what we're doing. So it gives a bit more flexibility. Doesn't necessarily mean there's less traffic management or less costs, but it's a different approach. It's going to still take a while to bed in, and talking to someone, it's going to take another 12, 24 months before it actually gets bed into the industry. There's a lot of change. There's a change to qualifications as well. There's still some being done, but they're all being done through a company that connects us now rather than through NZTA, so the warrants and the qualifications for traffic management. It's going to be more competency-based rather than actually an exam and things like that. So having appropriate people with the right knowledge doing the appropriate job. Again, it's going to take a long time to phase in.
And obviously just comment on the school speed limits, which has obviously been a source of frustration with people. I'm pleased that we have a sensible outcome about to happen.
Yeah, I'll just an update on that. Yes, we want to get variable speed limits. We want to go forward and have static signs. So we're permitted to do that. The rule wasn't enforced yet, so it's the 30th of October. I did get in early and submitting into the register to get them certified. I got a message back saying you're a bit early. You've got to wait till after the 30th of October. So they've been sent back in draft form, so I have to resubmit them again. But they're all there and ready to change. And we're preparing to put the signs up because it's something that we're required to do. I would think it would be an easier thing to get certified, but I haven't necessarily got that certainty yet. So I've just asked a couple of questions, but it's really after the 30th of October, I'm supposed to be able to put them in again and to get them approved. And hopefully the date we've got is for the start of the school holidays, so at the end of the last term, so they're in place over the holidays, so the variable's in, so you don't have to slow down during that until the variables kick in the new term next year.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you for putting on the metal unsubsidised money. So we've got a full budget there, and I note that we've put on 28,000 cubes of metal, and that's $28.67 a cube, so we should have effectively another 30 to go, which could be a record of 58,000 cubes. And I think everybody in the country you are seeing the benefits on the shingle roads. They are better, they've just got a lot more robustness to them. It's a lot of money, but it's not a massive amount of money to actually upgrade our roads, so I'm very thankful for that. And the other question was, at our last council meeting, we decided to re-tender our roading network contract, and I think you've made a comment there of interest is the number of unattended and redundant sites with respect to health and corridor access. So I'm sure we'll be addressing that. Will you be? That's one of the things with the new contract you can talk to them about. Am I right there, or am I off target?
Yeah, the change the traffic management, as Councillor Todd mentioned previously, and these issues will be part of. There'll be a change in the document. Just be aware these sites aren't just our maintenance contractor. This is all contractors out on the network. So it's not just them. It's all those ones working on water, telecom, power, all those. So it's not just that doing vehicle crossings. All that work is covered under those inspections that are done. It's not just our maintenance contract. Yeah, but the fact of unattended sites isn't such a good. But I think redundant sites is an area where, as an industry, we can really improve what's done out there. If it's not needed, don't have it there. And it's just a matter of getting organised and actually removing stuff that isn't actually required anymore. So.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I see there that we received no subsidy from NZTA for the low cost, low risk paving and footpaths. And I see your note in the activity briefing says that that's going to come to council with a list of, what the decision is going to be. I'm assuming it will come to the roading reference group at some stage for a comment and review. Before it comes to council?
Yes, through the chair. The intention is to bring it to a roading reference, community reference group first, and then a recommendation to council.
Right. Thank you. So the council recommendation will be what, a month away, 2 months away?
As soon as we can get the reference group meeting
Organised.
arranged.
And that's
yes.
in hand?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mark. Be quick. Get going for your cup of tea. Thank you, Mark. Neil, you've got 2 points to do before a cup of tea. There's the contracts and Lakewood.
Yes, I think we have covered some of those contracts have been mentioned. The Lakewood update, the weed harvester is up and running and starting to work. The weed hasn't grown sufficiently to be added for several days in the week, but it's ready for that. So water clarity is looking very good at the moment, but that's while we're getting water from the river. The challenge will be when we get to December, January, when we won't be able to take water from the river. However, we can circulate what we're getting, and we are doing our best to get water around areas that we battled to get the water to previously. A positive thing to mention is that the jumping platform has been very popular. Yesterday, I believe there were 15 cars parked at the platform with people jumping. However, we have had some vandalism, we've had some signs removed, and the life buoy has been thrown into the lake. So there are a few issues there to deal with, but it's very popular, and we haven't had any signs of people jumping off the bridge as before. So it's clearly doing the job, and people are attracted to it.
That is great. A couple of questions.
Thank you.
Councillor
Lakewood, and we've got 2 intakes now into the lake to try and flush out the canals, I understand. If and when the river flow drops down to below 4 or 3 or whatever it got down to last year, how are we going to prioritise? Are you just going to alternate, or how are you going to manage that take?
That's correct. We will alternate. At the moment, it's set to about 70% sending it to the northwest canals and 30% into the main lake. But we have the ability to change, to switch off, to close, and
we don't lose too much to the
groundwater?
groundwater?
We'll keep it going both directions. Just the quantity will just change. We can take advantage of the easterly wind. So when there is a good, strong easterly wind blowing, we can divert it into the northwest channel, and that'll help drive it down to the canals on the northwestern side.
And I have just another couple of questions around that topic, please, Mr. Chair. Who does that? Who does the managing the easterly wind and altering the flow? And
so that's ACL.
ACL
as part of their contract.
As
yes.
part of their contract.
Yeah.
And with regards to the weed growth, we've got the harvester, and I've looked at it and taken photographs, and it's pretty fancy. How much does the weed grow? Like, you know, like bamboo grows 1 metre a day sometimes. How much does weed grow? Or how fast?
Gosh, I was given the figure that in the middle of summer it can grow sort of 20 centimetres in a week. I think it's something.
So it'll be going
like that.
full
It's very
time
quick.
over summer.
Yes, so in
Like a
December,
lawnmower
January it'll
sort
be
of thing.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
The weed harvester can go down to 1.5 metres. So we'll wait for it to be at a decent depth before we get the weed harvester out to remove it all.
And one more maintenance question. If the weed harvester breaks down, do we have the parts and skills in the town to fix it?
I think so, yes, I believe so. Yep.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Mayor Brown.
Just on contracts, tenders, Neil, the water treatment plant package 2, is it being decided yet?
That's coming to council next week.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it. Councillors, 15 minutes off for a cup of tea, and the staff as well, and then we start for the next half. Thank you all. councillors. And the next one on the list is Michael Wong from Building Services. Michael, any things to say, or just wait for questions and comments?
Thank you. Just wait for questions.
Okay. Councillors, do we have any questions? Councillor Wilson?
Build consents and amendments. So the first 3 months of this year we're nearly at 100% issue within 20 working days. That's what that says, doesn't it? So that's.
We've only missed one, unfortunately.
Councillor Lovett?
Just going back to like people building, you get your consents, it's all inspected, but there is a final inspection, isn't there, for a compliance? Are we lagging behind in that area, or does everybody get them finally ticked up? Do we chase them up, or what's the story there?
Through the chair, yes, so under the original Building Act 91, there was no compulsion for a person to get the co-compliance certificate. There was no mechanism to chase it up or anything like that. And the law changed in 2004 where within 2 years of after we issue a consent, we have to follow it up and make a decision whether to issue the co-compliance certificate or not. So at this council, we send out a reminder about 18 months into the project and say, how are you going? Please realise that you've got only 6 months left to build. And then they can talk to us about extending the time frames and stuff like that. So it's all about communication and keeping everybody informed. So yes, we do have a mechanism in place to check things up and chase. So historically, there used to be, back in 2014, there used to be about almost 6,000 outstanding consents. And as we have time over the years ahead, we have been chipping away. So it's down to below 2,300, I think, are left now of historic ones. So we're slowly chipping away at them.
That's good to hear.
Thank you. No more questions? You can go back. Thank you, Michael. Next one, Jim. Civil Defence. Waiting for questions, or you've got something to tell us first?
No updates, so just waiting for questions.
Okay, thank you for that. The Mayor.
Morning, Jim. Jim, I see you've been working with the whakaora around the health-led response within the district if something happens. So if something did happen, this is led from within the Ashburton district, or is this led from Christchurch if the event happened?
Through the chair, it's a little bit of both. So obviously, organisations like the CPRG, the Canterbury Primary Response Group, who look after the GPs, have a part to play. Health headquarters, so to speak, in Christchurch, they also have a part to play. But what we've been working on is a response for our district, which has been needed for some time. We didn't really have a set of operating procedures for this district, and that's what Te Whatuora and myself have been working on over the last months. The final draft is with all of the agencies now for final sign-off, and hopefully we'll be able to issue that very soon.
So do you have confidence that if we had an event that in Ashburton and there was an event also in Christchurch at the same time, they couldn't get here, that there's people here who can respond? We got that confidence that that's there?
Absolutely, and that's been the goal that's come out of this, is building those relationships, working with our GPs, the hospital, pharmacy groups, to get to that stage where I've got confidence now that we would be able to stand something up reasonably quickly.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. G'day, Jim. I see you had a presentation, AFA presentation, Lauriston Volunteer Fire Brigade. I agree that that's excellent for building relationships with first responders. Have you got around all of our rural fire brigades yet, or how's that going? Is that on the plan to do?
Through the chair, yes. So like Michael, chipping away at things. I think Pendarvis would be one of the last groups that we would need to, that I still need to go and give that presentation to. But Lauriston was the last on the western side of the district, and we've got some really good relationships with those guys now. And once a month, I make a phone call just to catch up with each of the brigade chiefs, to say hello and see what they're seeing, and have a bit of a talk about things to maintain those relationships. So it's a really good space we're in with FENS at the moment.
Cool. And the response from first responders, is that similar to what you get from us councillors and the general public? Are they as sort of gobsmacked about, what could unfold as we are?
They are, of course. They've got a larger part to play in it. So as well as being prepared at home, they've also then got to make sure that their families and everyone is safe, so that they can then step out and go and help everybody else. So yeah, they have a really important part to play. And I think that animation that is in that presentation is as striking to them as it is to everybody else that sees it.
Thank you, dear. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Point, Jim. Just regarding the ECAN flood control, you say our staff feel as though we've been listened to. Is this because we're now taking more shingle out of the river? Is it this that you think we've got the flood thing under control, or are there other activities that happen?
Through the chair, the points that are being made there is that it's great that we're able to engage with the river engineers, that they were prepared to come and sit with us and talk about, rather than just putting the triggers on that they believe are there, they came and spoke to us regarding the historical places where we know things happen in our district. For example, roading nowhere, where they normally have problems whenever there's a flood on the river. So it was good that ECAN were prepared to come and speak with us regarding that, and to take our input into their setting those triggers for our district, and also for the Trigger Action Response Plan, or TARP, that sits on the bridge. They've included that in there as well. So there's some good work, good collaborative work has gone in that space.
We've got Councillor Lovett.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we've got a major exercise coming up shortly. No, I spoke about it last night at Silver Defence, whether a little bit of video footage could be taken, like how a comms room works in emergency centres and welfare centres and things, whether it could be gathered up and shown to the councillors, because often we sit on the outside and never really know what is going on and what equipment we've got in that. And I think it'd be a good education tool. We could show people that we're confident to manage an emergency here in town and all our little outlying centres. Would that be possible?
Through the chair, I agree, and we working with communication, our comms team, they're always taking photos and videos of us while we're doing our thing. Also extend an invitation to the councillors to come and have a look at when we are stood up on the 7th doing exercise Pandora, come and have a look at what we do in kind of a exercise or peacetime environment, to learn a little bit more about what goes on in there, if you wanted to.
No, that's a nice idea. That's great. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Morning, Jim. With your discussions with ECAN around their flood manual, does that only deal with the Ashburton River, or does it also include the Rangitata and the Rakaia, because they also have impacts on us when a major flooding event can happen?
Through the chair, yes, all of the rivers that sort of sit within our area of the Motu, we've discussed those. They have a number of triggers. For example, the Rangitata and the Rakaia, because most of the issues work or on those rivers affect those south and north of us, we would be more informed of what's going on around us, rather than getting the triggers ourselves. But we are included in those when they release them.
Thank you. I've got one request, if I can. going through it, I really like it, but I read SOP, EOC, D4H, COP. I can't find it. Can you just put it in there somewhere, because...
Apologies here. I tend to fall back on three-letter acronyms, as we all do. So yes, in future I'll make sure that that's explained.
Yeah,
Yep. Yes. That will be explained in future.
Yes,
Apologies.
no, if you can. Great. Thank you. No more questions. Rick. In the hot seat. Ready for questions or comments, or you want to start something?
Morning, councillors. Through the chair, certainly ready for questions.
Okay. Councillor Cameron.
The food truck, I just read with interest in the activity briefing comments that they can be authorised to sell their wares in another district. You know, the food truck purveyors down here. Are all the districts presumably have the same standard?
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, the food control plan's nationwide, and so there's an allowance there for someone inside Christchurch to be cross-registered to operate here if they so wish.
They need some sort of registration process. Okay. And then do you check the registrations if they're from Christchurch, for example, or do Christchurch people check that? How does that work?
Thank you through the chair. There's a bit of both that occurs there. Christchurch will obviously check their own registrations at their events, but we do monitoring here and we'll check especially those that should be cross-referenced. So if they're registered at Christchurch, we still make sure that they're running toward it, so to speak.
Thank you for this. Mayor Brown.
Just looking at the dog control in 3.4.3, there's 75 CRMs. So what are they for?
Thank you through the chair. Off the top of my head, I'm not too sure on the breakdown of those, but they're certainly not of a major incident. So there'll be routine barking issues and so on, wanderings that are still open and being investigated.
In the future, could we have a breakdown of what they are into a category?
I can certainly look at that, yes, and provide that.
That would be great, thank you for that.
Now, one question might be an Ian question, not a Rick one. Page 64, it's on the RMA reform. And the bullet points on page 64, the last one, the change of the law and the benefits will be provide faster and cheaper processes with less resilience on litigation contained within shorter and simpler legislation that is more accessible. Could you just say, what does that mean?
Yeah, through the chair. This came from, I believe, the actual release from the Beehive, and at the moment we don't have a lot more detail on what's in there at the moment. So I guess more will come down the line. I guess no, it would probably be speculation at this point to actually comment on it. But I think, given previous comment, it's probably to do with simplifying appeals and sort of the process at that end of things. But yeah, as I say, it's still to come.
Which is what we want. So this is leading towards it, I think. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'm just going to follow on from Neil's lead. I just went on to the legislation with the RMA review, and can I talk to Ian? I think it would be Ian, but I'm not sure. Is that okay?
Thank you through the chair. Yes, those questions will be better placed with Ian.
It's very confusing, but when you read the legislation, it's got, if we haven't had a regional policy statement, a regional plan or a district plan, which we have done in the last 10 years. I'm on the RMA appeal, just coming on from Neil's comment just now. The RMA review. And then it's
over into the planning, sorry. Do
you want me to stop? I can go back.
Well, yeah, basically we went too far.
Well, Neil asked the question, so I thought he'd opened the gate.
It happened.
Oh, hang
so
up.
Basically there were no more questions for Rick, because planning is not part of Rick. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Trying to explain, but you don't have to do it. Thank you. sorry, so we go back.
Thank you, thanks.
Ian? Yep.
Is this okay? If I go to the legislation, which is Resource Management Act 1991, review of policy statements and plans, and there's a link there on that press release. Have you gone to that? Ian, are you across there? I can't understand. We've done a district plan within the last 10 years, but then it's got notwithstanding that, a local authority may commence a full review of any of the following documents it has. Is this review of the RMA going to be a cost on the council to review all our district plans, resource consent, regional plans, etc., etc.?
So through the chair, the regional plan is dealt with by the by Canterbury Regional Council, ECAN, and the district plan is ours. So we were or are coming up for requirement to do a district plan review, but because we knew in the last with the last government that they imposed, they changed the legislation, that there was going to be a regional planning framework come through. So there was sort of caution on our part to say, well, actually, hang on a minute, things are going to change. Now that was rescinded, but now this new government has put in something which is starting to look a little bit similar. You'll see in there that there are some comments in there about a regional planning document again. What that means, to answer your question in very short form, is that probably, yes, there will be some cost for council because we'll have to participate in that process. But exactly what that looks like at the moment is still a little bit uncertain.
Thank you. Can I ask a subsequent question, please? We did a mini regional plan review since I've been on council. It was probably on the last council. Does that not count? That's a negative question, but I mean, does it count towards a regional plan review? We looked at changing the plan, the district plan for retail and part. We did that.
Yes, through the chair, yes. So the staff will continually be looking at, I guess, the efficiency of the district plan and making sure that it's fit for purpose, and that there are things that are cropping up that we need to change. So we've done. I think we're on, including the private plan changes, we're on plan change 6 now, I think it is. So that happens, and you need, because things change over time. But this is more a whole revision of actually even the structure of the plan. And if we do go to a sort of a regional planning document, then Ashburton will form part of that wider strategy. So there'll be questions about how we fit into that.
Yeah, thank you. Because under the review, it's got there a new district plan, and I understand, which I've not been involved in a full district plan review, but I understand that to be a very, very costly exercise. And I also am well aware that we haven't put anything in the long-term plan for a regional plan review in terms of money.
No, it was hard to, through the chair, it was hard to budget for and hard to know, especially around October last year, which was when the last legislation came in, which was saying that we wouldn't probably need a district plan review. And now we're in sort of a similar situation again. So it's going to be watched this space carefully.
Thank you for that, Ian. Economic development, 65 is under Ian as well. Any questions there? None? Oh, sorry, get on.
Thank you. Council events. There's going to be a jazz in the park, which would have been lovely to have before Christmas, with the long evenings and things, and it's been delayed due to a scheduling clash. I presume that means not class. Can't we have it the next week, or is the domain all booked up for the whole?
Through the chair, I don't have the actual schedules of the other activities that we were that are being proposed, but I did query this with the economic development manager, and I understand that there are events, not necessarily council run events, but other events in the community which are pretty much back to back all the way up to Christmas, and they just couldn't find a space that wouldn't compete with something else that had already been arranged.
So the clash, the pre-existing thing was before the council decided on the date.
Yeah, well, it was independent of the council's.
Yeah, so we probably need to. My learning from that is we need to book our dates in advance so that there is no clash in the future. Would be my key learning from that. My other comment is, if I can, please, Lane, is the Christmas tree. Now I note the Christmas tree is going in front. When I read this, the light up the Christmas tree. The event is taking place in front of the building here. It was very successful in the town, and it's a very beautiful addition to the town. Here it is lovely, of course, the Christmas tree is lovely, but would it not be a good, I don't recall discussing this, but we may have, and I may not have been at the particular meeting, but was there consideration made to what it actually does to the town and the busyness of the town and the vibrancy of the town, rather than taking it to a site where there's no after hours activity down here and there's no hustle and bustle, if you like, down here. So people want to enjoy the Christmas tree, they come down here, but they're taking all that out of the town, where it was an opportunity, in my view, to add a vibrancy and a feeling and a stimulus to the town. That's just a comment, and I don't recall the discussion. I recall the sentiment, but I don't recall the discussion.
I think it went to town because we were working here, because it was here before. It was here before, so I think it was just for 1 or 2 years going into town. But yeah, no. Mayor Brown.
The Caroline touched on it. The staff are working on 11 events scheduled to occur between now and January, which is not far away. Were you going to give us a list of those? I think you said you haven't got them, but you could.
We can provide those.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Following on, what do you know what the large charity fundraiser is? In the Clash. The Jazz.
I have look. I'm sorry, Councillor. I have been told that, but I just don't have it on my mind at the moment. I believe it's a charity event, but I'm not. I'd have to clarify that.
Okay. And so the 160th Domain 160th event, which is now replaced with the movie night. Do you have any insight as to what the 160th event was, and what was going on with that?
Through the chair, no, I don't. I'll have to clarify that as well.
Thank you.
That will be for next year, is that right? Or is it for no. Next month? Okay. Okay, Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just on page 71 under planned activities, the new website, secure login function, etc. Do they contribute financially to that function, those that participate in it? And also, if there's a booking function going to be enabled, will we take a commission on that function? The second to last, on that's page 71, second to last comment, a new website will be developed to enhance.
Sorry.
What page?
71.
71. Sorry, just find it.
Am I doing the count?
Through the chair, the second part of the question was in terms of charging commissions and things. I guess yes, that is a possibility. I don't think we're at that stage yet, but certainly it's something that could be looked at in the future. And I'm sorry, I was writing something down. I didn't get the first part of the question.
Just with the new website, the secure login function, do the people participating in it, do they contribute financially to that part of the program?
Look, I think that will be something to look at down the line. I'm not aware of that being fully established yet. I think the important thing with this is that it would have the functionality to do so, and that will probably be a discussion for down the line. I think that it's getting the infrastructure in place to start with to make sure that it could, if necessary.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Page 72, the Tourism Advisory Group have had some meetings, and one of the points they talked about was the cycle track. Do we know where that's planned to be, or is they not at that stage? Because there's been a lot of different cycle routes that I've heard since I've been in here, and it's sort of quite nice to know where their focus is, I suppose.
I believe the work. Sorry, through the chair. I believe the work to date has been primarily to do with making sure that, or to start to scope the project. And one of the big things that obviously we want to make sure of is that we maximise the use of the existing networks, because there's no sense in reinventing the wheel, to excuse the pun, but to make sure that we actually get a good audit of what we've already got and then focus on connecting those existing ones. So I think probably that the answer to your question will come as part of this.
Thank you for that. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. May I move on to page 74, just subsequent to that's traffic counts, our new fancy pedestrian counter in town, which we're delighted about. Am I allowed to go there? Yep. Lane, are we allowed to move to page 74?
Sorry?
Am I allowed to move to page 74?
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
thanks.
Yeah.
Can you talk me through the key? I don't understand the key. Like, what's the why? It's got total traffic on the, and on the bottom it's got all, can you just explain how to read it, please?
Oh, I see. Sorry, is that? Sorry. Through the chair, is that 74 or 75?
For both. There's one on
Okay.
74 and there's one on 74.
Yeah, I believe that one of them is actually so it's pedestrian counts, and then it's time, and then I think it also has weather in there as well, in terms of rainfall. I've only briefly looked at this myself. It's a table that's generated from directly from the data, and it says, I think on 74 obviously you've got the dates, and within the days you've got the time of the day,
Yeah.
which has the maximum loads.
Yeah.
And then I think, beyond that, I would need a bit of interpretation. So I think probably what we would need to do perhaps in the next activity briefing is to actually provide a key on what those criteria are, because there's quite a lot of, you're quite correct, there is quite a lot of data in there.
Even if you look at chart and you look at that axis and you think they're in thousands, it still doesn't, or even hundreds, it doesn't work out. I just don't know how they work the count out.
Yeah, that's
Unless all those little bricks making up it's almost like a chart as well as sort of a bar.
Yeah.
We need some facilitation on that. Simon needs to send us out an email or something to tell us how to.
It's certainly not easy.
Yes.
Thank you. But
Noted.
But saying that, I'm very excited about it, and I think it's wonderful.
Of course, I looked at it as well, and you can see almost.
There's almost too much data in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. No more questions? Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Just because we've now moved down the page and we've got the Ashburton District Cycle Trail, is that linking into that other work from the other cycleway? Because there's no point in two different lots of people trying to achieve the same outcome.
Through the chair, yes, definitely. It's really important to be coordinated in this space. Yeah, definitely.
You for that? No one else? Thank you, Ian. And we're on to council services. Amanda. Councillors, any questions, comments? Hi, Sarah. How are you? Councillor Cameron.
Just because no one else put their light on, Amanda, I thought I'd ask you a question. These CRMs, what does it mean, curbside? What do they mean? Like curbside, is that rubber?
Through the chair, yes, Carolyn, and the curbside is all of the red wheelie bins, the yellow wheelie bins, the green crates, it's all the collection stuff.
So these are people rung up and said my rubbish wasn't collected, or the rubbish is still here, or it's fallen on the road, or whatever, all that type of thing.
Yes, and it will be the requesting of new bins or additional bins.
Yeah.
And bin damage.
Yeah. Hey, can I go to rates rebate? I'm not happy to see people that require rates rebate. I'm happy it's available, but it's not good that people, that times are tough for people. It's not getting any better. Is that your feeling? Like 22 was lower than 23, which seems to be, we've had a little bit of a bump, seems to be on track, or lower than 24, 25. Is that your feeling in the customer services department?
Through the chair, there was a big jump previous to 18, 19, it would go up in increments of $10 each year, the rebate available to people, and then it's gone from $700 to 750 to 790. So the jump in what's been available as a rebate has jumped, but that's also been reflective of the times with the cost of living, the COVID situations. People are living longer. Yeah, there's more people retired and moving into the district and also retirement villages has come on in the last 4 or 5 years as well. So that's helped increase the numbers, whereas in the past they weren't eligible. But there are still some people that are being declined. So there's people that just miss out.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah.
But we would rather people apply for it and get it. People don't know about it. But it's always word of mouth. It's the grey powers that have those meetings that we get influxes from, and when we go out to communities.
You have little brochures down. It's a question,
Always.
not an answer. I mean, not a statement. There is little brochures downstairs and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just around rates, rebates as well, and I know this is a tricky one. Had a meeting at Lower Hakateri, and there's 54 properties in there, but they're actually only on one rates demand, and a lot of them are retired people, but because they have licensed occupiers, they're not eligible for rates rebate. And I can't, in my head, can't think of a way around that either, but I don't know if that sort of thing's been discussed at all.
Very much so, through the chair. So I do know what you're talking about there. With the rating unit being the one property, there is a need for each of those properties to show their contribution to the rates, and when that gets broken down, they might not actually be eligible because the amount of rates that they pay per property in there compared to their income may not filter through. Yeah, but that is a conversation that has happened with finance managers in the past here at council. Yeah.
So how can you fix that? Is it fixable or not?
Through the chair, I might go to Leanne on this one.
Through the chair, often it depends on the property owner. If they want them all as one, we have to abide by that. Where we can show their invoices separately and what they're paying for their rates, absolutely. But if they're earning income off those properties, that will impact on their income that they're earning for the year, which impacts on their assessment.
Okay. Not easy. I can hear it. Thank you for that. Jill. And you don't have to say Lane, you can say Granny Lane. We met. Any questions? Sarah, you want to do something?
I was just going to comment, there might be some questions that come up for all the facility teams with regards to this report, and just reminding it's for the month of September, and we had 1 out of the 10 days of school holidays that fell in September, so our numbers are based on September.
Councillor Hooper.
Not a question, but a comment. Madison and I attended a couple of the school holiday activities in the library, and we actually got turned away from the first one because we were 5 minutes late, and 70 items had been given out already, and there was a waiting list. It was just absolutely thriving down there. There was a really cool buzz, and both the sessions we went to, one was a rainy day and that was even busier, but it was just awesome to see the activity and the good buzz that was going on. You must be thrilled.
Through you, Lane. Absolutely thrilled. I think we had 90 children and 50 adults the first day, and that's the only day that's in this report, as Sarah said. And that was equalled, I think, later on. So we're thinking we probably have to open up another area, like book out the Wakanui room, so that we've got more room and have another group, so that we don't disappoint anyone, because we just want them to keep rolling in.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So just a question for me. From the Life Church area where I was and the library staff was there as well. Is that just, why was it there and not here?
That's a good question, because we had a very successful wonky donkey session,
Yeah, here as well.
and then somebody pointed out that the area is not big enough to take a large number. It's only licensed for about 100 people, so we had to look elsewhere. It just happened that the event centre had the children's theatre that week. So they had the performance for their children's theatre week. So we'll just have to arrange that better, and probably will use the event centre in future. But it worked out quite well at Tynwald.
Quite well.
It was a good venue.
It was a great.
It was a great performance.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lovett.
I'm just thinking of the computer room upstairs, up the back there. The kids up there, the game players and stuff, are they, thinking of the school holidays and all the kids, the behaviour issues, you had nothing there, or you're sort of managing, keeping an eye on them, or how is it working at the moment?
It's better, but we have had another problem, but it's being dealt with, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Good at Mayor Brown.
Yeah, the big screen had the rugby on in the week on Saturday for the Hammers playing in the final. I wasn't there, but I've heard someone who was there. They said it was great seeing it on the big screen, and they thanked us for putting it on. So well done to those concerned who did it. And they said there might be some future matches that could go up on there, sporting matches, because they thought it was just superb.
We've got the Melbourne Cup and the Trotting Cup coming up.
Councillor Rupert.
Oh, we're going to run a TAB as well. Annual plan coming up, and I forgot what I was going to say now. And the youth worker, rather than security guards around the library, how has that worked? Following on from what Lynette was asking.
It's possibly a little bit early to tell, but I think it's positive so far.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to contribute to a better feeling.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you, councillors. No more questions? Thank you, Jill. The next one is Richard. You wait for questions, or you want to start off with something?
Just take it as read and take any questions.
Okay, questions. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard. And great start when you look at the little orange line. It's well above the other lines. What interests me is the KPIs are below the 22-23 line. How did we end up on that?
Through the chair, the KPI is completely calculated from the performance measures in the long-term plan, which were generated as an average of attendance over years. So we looked at a number of years, we kind of averaged it out to come to the performance measure that council then approved, and that yellow line represents that.
So, what, last 3 years, or what? How was it last 5 years? I can't remember how the KPI was.
Yes, it was also a wee bit to do with the timing of when we had to get the KPIs in. Looking at the trending and what is happening, I think we can all assume that we need to exceed that KPI, and we most definitely are trying to exceed it, and will continue to do so. We were surprised last year that we met the KPIs because they weren't adjusted down when COVID happened. So we were sort of punching to try and achieve it. So based on that and not knowing beforehand, probably should have, in fairness, and when we can adjust it, we will, but there is a process.
Yeah, and it doesn't, as long as we keep going this trajectory. But I think the district growth is quite slow. I think it's 1.8%. I think we've revised it. So this shows greater, either more frequent attendance from a few people or more people attending the EA networks, and I prefer to think of the latter. So I think that's great work, and everybody should be congratulated. I think it's showing, more acceptance of it.
Thank you. Just to note through the chair that the KPI doesn't reflect anything to do with the pool shutdown coming in January as well, so there will be an impact to the visitation there.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. G'day, Richard. The basketball tournament held early September. I think there was another one there last week as well. How was the overflow effect? Did you have to go to Oxford Street or to the college gym this time, or did they get the 27 teams sorted at EA?
Through the chair, so as Sarah alluded to, the October tournament doesn't reflect in this report at all. Okay. But yes, again, very successful. Both tournaments did still use Oxford Street to achieve their draws. The one in September ran according to the full noise basketball rules, so they have overtime and they have all those things, so they had to allow Oxford Street to actually get the tournament in, and we were still running at I think the last game finished about 9:45 each night, just to get that tournament through within the few days. So both very successful tournaments, well patronised and great feedback from the people, but we did still have to use Oxford Street to get it through within the days.
Cool.
Mayor Brown.
Just, Richard, the women's only swim night seems to be quite successful. How many people turned up this time when you had one? Just was it last week or week before?
Yeah, through the chair. So the one that's reported had around kind of high 50s into 60, and then the one last week it was around the same kind of the 50 odd point. So both been very successful so far.
Great.
Sorry, yeah, just another quick one from me. Richard, can we just reiterate that the pool closure, the time period is the quietest time for the EA pool, isn't it? Because we've had some of our not so positive feedback people commenting on, oh, it's the busiest time of the year. Can you just reiterate that?
That is correct. So January, in terms of our total visitation into the pool area, is our quietest month of the year.
Thank you.
It also has a less financial impact because we don't have large learn to swim school programs going through there. So if we did it in February, council as a whole and EA financials would go further south than what is in January. So that's another factor to take into account.
I've got a question that was the learn to swim. There's group sessions and individual sessions. So do they pay for that? Private funded? Or is it by the school?
Sorry, can I just clarify which page you're referring to?
89.
Through the chair, that's reflecting on our not the schools program, but our normal school, our normal learn to swim program. So all of those sessions are paid for.
Okay, so it's outside the school.
Correct. The schools doesn't reflect in that chart, but does reflect up above in the swim school occupancy. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, they're just split between page 89 and 90. There's the Learn to Swim program, which is the fully private funded program. And then there's the Learn to Swim holiday block course, which is again fully funded by private families. And then the school swim lessons is the one that's co-funded, and that's on page, the top of page 90.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question I've got is on the same page. The hospice off-site program, Wednesday and Friday, and you've got Parkinson play on on a Thursday. Where is that? Is it at the pool?
So through the chair, Parkinson's Play is run in our group fitness program. This is a pilot program we've been running in conjunction with the Parkinson's Association, and it's been very, very well received by the community. So that runs at the centre in the gym area. The hospice program is run at the Hospice Association site. So one of our instructors, who's very passionate and very, very skilled in that area, goes down to hospice for that one.
Yes, he's done good. Can he get some new stuff, please? Of course, it's getting worn out for the guests. That's it. Councillor Lovett.
So I'm just thinking, what influence EA has over down at Lake Hood, thinking of the great big inflatable you had up in the pool, which was highly successful. You know, could you take that over this, just in the summer months, down to Lake Hood by the jumping platform, or would that have to be a whole private enterprise thing? Or because all the area is council down there.
Through the chair, there's probably two questions there. One, the water park that we had in October, which I believe is what you're reflecting on, is not owned by council. That was a completely private enterprise that came and utilised the pool area as part of a partnership. So we wouldn't have any jurisdiction over where it went. They run a number of water parks around the country throughout the year. So if they had capacity, they could take it any water body in the country with the blessing of that water body. In terms of operation, we don't have a whole lot to do with Lake Hood. I'm looking to Sarah for a little bit of guidance here. But we do have a lot to do in water safety and water guidance. So we potentially provide advice, but it's not our jam, if that makes sense.
Right, okay.
Fair enough. Councillor Hooper.
The numbers you're getting to your classes, like, you know, the CrossFit and O2Go, and they're awesome, and it sort of locks people in for a few sessions. Is that a direction you see the sort of gym going and sort of specialising in? Because the numbers are great, look like they're building all the time.
Through the chair, the special populations classes is something that our team are very passionate about, and they're continually looking for more options and more ways to engage with the community, Parkinson's Play being the most recent one, and that having kind of between 15 to 25 people turning up to a class that's focused on helping people with Parkinson's. So absolutely special populations is one of our goals, but it's not the only goal that we're aiming for within the gym area as well. We aim to serve the wider cross-section of the community as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, it takes mental health goals and community and a whole lot of things, so it's really good stuff.
I'm probably going to get told off for jumping ahead here, and Sarah can tell me off, but the most recent Couch to Wellness program kicked off last week and is our highest subscribed Couch to Wellness program yet, and is oversubscribed, if that makes sense. We had 25 people turn up for this term's Couch to Wellness class. I've probably just stolen my thunder for the next activity briefing, but
It's going well, thanks for that. No more questions, councillors? Thanks for being here and telling us what is going well. Thank you, Richard. Shireen, long time, no seeing.
Kia ora koutou councillors. I'm happy to take some questions.
Okay, there we go. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Hi, Sharon. Just under operational activities, you just comment on monitoring and pest management continues. What sort of pests do we have that you're controlling?
Through the chair, this is general pest management control in the Art Gallery and Museum, but mostly with a focus on our collection stores. So we have fly traps and small sticky adhesive traps that we monitor silverfish and any other little creepy crawlies. As you can imagine, some of our objects are quite old in our collection stores, and so we also monitor for anything that might be within the structure of some of the objects and then slowly coming out. So although everything gets through a quarantine process over time, we may see the development of some pests that we need to monitor. Yeah, thank you.
No one wants to talk to you. You're right with that. Right. Yeah. Thanks, Sharon. Janice. Communications. And Tony comes to hold my hand, is it? Yeah, that's good. Janice?
Nothing further to add, thanks.
Okay, councillors. Councillor Wilson.
With respect to the stockwater closures, I see a thing was put out the other day. We've got to, obviously, to inform the public, because it's quite a emotive and difficult conversation. Can you just, how we're going to talk to the public through that process?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair. Our first news story media release there was just to give the community an update after decisions were made on the LTP. And then our next action is to collect emails so that we can conduct e-newsletter communications directly with interested stakeholders. So we'll mostly have two mass communication groups, one being the interested stakeholders and the other being the general public, and we'll take sort of slightly different approaches to the audiences so the message is tailored.
Thank you for that. Mayor Brown.
It's page 96 on digital signage channels and contact, and there's 10 channels running on 19 screens. So could you pop that into English for us? What does that mean?
Sure thing, through the chair. We have a range of screens that are technically signs. There are about 9 or so in this building, and then we have some at EA Network Centre and at the Art Gallery Museum. And we run channels through them. Some of them are for internal comms, so some of them sit in staff rooms with key messages for staff, and some of them are public facing, and we do a bit of cross promotion, like we'll have some art gallery stuff showing in here in this building and vice versa.
It's information displayed on the TVs around the building.
Basically, it's an ad channel for us.
On the TVs, yeah, thanks.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just harking back, Janice, to a few years ago, we talked about putting a little icon or a little link or something to say that Ashburton District Council is a smoke-free district council. And I haven't seen that anywhere. And we're also going to do a little link to, like I know Citizens Advice Bureau have developed and continue to maintain their club list. We're also going to do some sort of click through to that. And I can't see that anywhere. We've got new here. It's quite hard to find things with those headings because they're very big. You know, I mean, in terms of that, they encompass a lot of different aspects. But I can't see anything about the smoke-free, and I can't see anything about the clubs and socks.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I'll make a note to prioritise that and make them a little bit easier to find.
Yeah, are they on there somewhere?
Yeah, we do have links to Citizens Advice Bureau, and I believe there's some smoke-free information on a smoke-free policy page, but we can make them more prominent.
If I search in that and go smoke-free, that'll come up, will it? We were going to put it on the front at that time. Do you mean smoke-free environments? Do you wish to... It's very...
We can make it more prominent there, Councillor.
Or, yeah, just
easier
to navigate. And I know, I'll bring that up. Sorry, Lane.
Yeah, Tony wants to.
I'll just bring that up because it did make a comment that you were trying to improve the navigation of the website. That's why I discussed that.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. As you can imagine, Council's website is a complex and tricky old beast to try and get everything up to the most prominent level that we can. When you're a single business with a single focus, it's a lot simpler to be able to get things surfacing quicker than what we can. We can have a look at some of those fields and see what we can do to improve that area.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. The online community guidelines, Janice, they've been launched. Whereabouts have you advertised those, pushed those out? Will you copy and paste that as an answer when you get hassled on social media? Can you tell us a bit more about them?
Through the chair, yes, thank you. We initially did a Facebook post explaining that we had instigated the online community standards. We had it pinned to the top of our Facebook page for a few weeks. And yes, when needed, we have sent a link to that page to people who haven't been respectful of the guidelines.
You just I shouldn't have turned my light off. Just in response to Tony's comment, we did discuss that at council, a previous council, that we would put that Ashburton is a smoke-free district on the front page. Now, whether that has subsequently been re-discussed, and I've missed it, that may have happened as well. But we did discuss that. So it wasn't a matter of finding it, it was supposed to be.
Through the chair, just to clarify language, we aren't saying that Ashburton is a smoke-free district.
Yep.
We're just saying that council facilities are smoke-free.
That's correct.
And also
Yeah.
some of our parks
That's
are our
correct.
playgrounds and sports fields.
That's right.
We just
Yeah.
have to be careful with language on that one. But
Yeah, sure. That's what. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's what I understood. Yeah.
Thank you all. No more questions. Thank you, Janice. The next one is Mark.
not Mark.
No, not Mark. We've got a female Mark. You want to start, or just for the questions?
Happy to answer questions.
There we go, councillors. Any questions? Richard?
On page number 100 and 103, can the consultation, the DOC consultation on biodiversity framework stuff, can it be referred to ADBAG maybe for a comment from them? Would that be an option or not?
thank you. Through the chair, yes, certainly. I'm just getting myself to the right place. Yes, when that does come out, BAG would be a logical source of group to talk to around that as their local experts. We don't have any details of when that's likely to land at this point in time.
And my other comment is, if I can make another one, that it's come out today that the government has put legislation through to, you could say bring into line is a word you could use, some of the regional councils as opposed with respect to their national policy statement on water, fresh water. How will that affect the Canterbury Regional Policy Statement, which is, trickles down to us? Because when I read in it, they've made a comment that says that the regional policy statement must give effect to any national policy statement. So that was that was their line with respect to the old potential national policy statement on freshwater management. Then, whereas they were saying it's in already, so we've got to do what the last government's done, and this government indicated they want to change. It's not a political thing, but how will that affect that rollout of that process? And the other part of it is also, how does that? Are we affected by? Are we doing anything that's contrary to what this current government is doing? Because we don't want to get caught in that same place.
Thank you. Through the chair, probably to answer the first part of that question, it's just landed this morning, so we haven't heard ECAN's response to that. But I would imagine that they are reconsidering whether they are going to continue at the pace they were intending to with the regional policy statement work. That actually does align quite well with the feedback that council provided, and also that wider Mid-Canterbury collective group and their voice around making sure that everything was rolling in line with what the national direction was. So from our community's perspective, it's probably quite a good statement that's been made this morning and gives us a little bit of reassurance that there's an expectation that government goes first, regional dovetails in, and so forth.
Thanks for that explanation. Mayor Brown.
Yeah, just look at page 99, the forestry strategy. We heard a little bit about it this morning, earlier on this morning. And it's to be confirmed in an NA in there. When are we planning on? Have we got some dates for that strategy to be coming to council to develop it?
Through the chair, no, we don't have any firm dates at this point in time. But we don't have firm dates for you at this point in time. We will let you know as soon as we start to get something locked in.
Yeah, I think we need to get moving on it. Yeah. Thanks.
We don't have a forester at the moment, is it? That's correct.
Sorry?
We don't have a forester on the moment in council?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just page 102, just increasing the use of remote inspection building consent process. You're considering submission. I suppose, will this be as effective compared to staff, you could say, getting down and dirty on the building site? Like, how effective will remote inspections be compared to physically being on site? And should we be vocal about that or not?
Thank you. Through the chair, look, we're talking to our building experts within council, so we'll be taking their lead on what position council may take. I'm expecting that their view was that they'll be pretty keen to provide feedback to this. But at the time of preparing this, we hadn't had that conversation to lock it in.
And just on page 103, just regarding the vaping, why wouldn't we support something that that amendment that I suppose better protects young people from vaping?
Which page?
103,
You know,
just regarding the vaping.
Thank you. Through the chair, we chose not to make a submission on that, given that it was looking to strengthen that regulatory framework for young people in and around vaping. So I guess there's only so much resource to go around, and we felt that that one was heading in the right direction, so we didn't need to lend our weight to that conversation.
thank you for that. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. And with our smoke-free policy, we include vaping in that as well, don't we? So if you're not allowed to smoke somewhere, you're not allowed to vape in that same place.
Yes, that's correct.
Mayor Brown.
Just on that Health Select Committee smoke-free environment one, we could do a very brief submission in support of it, rather than be silent on it, because sometimes silence doesn't mean agreement. So we support what you've got. Can be no work involved, but we're happy with what they're doing.
Could it be done?
Thank you. Through the chair, we've missed the due date. It was due on the 4th of October.
Oh, good. Okay. No more questions? No comments? Thank you. That was easy. You like to come back, isn't it? Granny Smith. Good morning.
Well, you're a brave man.
I am. I'm far enough away. Ian, how are you? Councillors, any questions, comments? Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Just a quick comment from the Timor Reserve Board. Lane has in his hot hands an envelope, brown envelope, full of there's probably 20 or 30 submissions for the Timor pool site, mainly from Timor school pupils. Some good ideas for us to go through. So just letting you know that the ball's rolling there, and we have had some engagement. So it's been good.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, and through the chair. And we had a meeting of the Timor Memorial Hall, and we've had a few. Are they not an item of importance?
The Timor Memorial Hall's meeting was after the deadline for this report, so it'll be in the next report.
So with regards to the comment on the roof and the lighting and the and the working bee and all the rest of it. Thank you.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. In the LTP, or was it a grant? It was a grant, I think. We gave some funds for signage at the entrance of the planes, and just wondering if we've had any feedback, if you like, on how they're progressing with that. And
I can say that. We had a meeting on Monday, and they just presented an ID, and we couldn't sign up. We didn't have enough people, but it looked quite nice. It's an older font, that will be fine. So they're certainly working on that. Yeah. Councillors, any more questions, comments? If not, thank you. Anne?
Mercedes, but I've got an update for welcoming communities.
Hmm?
I haven't got Mercedes, but I've got an update.
Okay, yeah. Right, Mercedes is not here, but the top lady is sitting next to me, so Tony will take this part.
Thank you. Through the chair, so just further to Mercedes' report that you've got in front of you, she worked alongside Neighbourhood Support on Saturday of the weekend just past and held a community event where our emergency services and other key organisations that provide a lot of support to our local community were at the Hampstead Rugby Club and on the grounds there, and over 500 people attended and mixed with the 20 stall holders. So what we've found is for some of our newcomers to the district, interacting with the likes of the police and understanding FENS and understanding who St John's are, as well as likes of community patrol. That's quite new concepts, and particularly with the police. In New Zealand, we're very fortunate. It's an uncorrupt organisation that is very safe to deal with, and if you don't come from that in your home country, that can be quite daunting to know. Yes, it's fine to pick up the phone and call the police when you need to. So that event was around helping to build those relationships and connections. It's proven to be very popular. Both the stallholders and those that attended have really got a lot of value out of that event, to the point that Mercedes' comment is that next year they're going to have to consider getting a bigger sound system and possibly involve a DJ, because after the event many wanted to stick around and have a bit of a social time and catch up and a good dance. So great to see, and there's pictures available if you want to see the action on the Welcoming Communities Facebook page.
Any questions or comments, councillors? Mayor Brown?
Yeah, I don't think you're getting any comments there. It looks great work, but I forgot to mention or ask at the beginning of the meeting, we don't take apologies, but Councillors Macklin and McMillan were apologies for the meeting today. And I think you're just about to wrap up. So I'd say this activity briefing has been great. You can see there's some great work being done. You're getting it done, as shown today. The facilities that councils supply, I see as immense and well used and well maintained, as we're seeing today as well. And there's plenty in this district for all ages to do, and most of it is free. So just congratulate all the staff on what they have been doing for the last wee bit to getting it done in the district. We're all proud of them.
Thank you for the comments. No one else? Thank you all councillors and staff and people looking at with live stream. Thank you all, and I close the meeting.